Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swiech, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, ADHD, eating disorders, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about. We talk about it on this show here. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on my platform. Please follow me over on Instagram at Depths of Darkside. You can follow along on my personal journey. I release little snippets from each episode, any little tips and pointers with mental health, ADHD, and just have a good time over there. I haven't been as active as late, but that's okay. Just enjoying the summer weather. You can follow my show over on YouTube as well. From the Depths of From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. But hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. And also hit me up over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's where you can find the show in its audio format. With no further ado, I'd love to introduce you my next guest. I got former hockey player DJ McGrath from out west in the prairies, boys. Want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you and what you're all about, DJ?
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for having me on, man. It's quite the privilege. Yeah, my name is DJ McGrath, born and raised in Kindersley, Saskatchewan, definitely in the heart of the prairies. Growing up, man, I had a great childhood growing up in Kindersley. I have two older brothers, one that's 4 years older than me and the other one that's 6 years older than me. So they were pretty big sports people too, right? They guided me the way. And every time I had a stick in my hands, that's when I knew I was a hockey player. And being from a small town, you're closer, you got some closer friends, you got the teachers, or you're on a personal level with them. And I had a good childhood, man. I was always the leader of the hockey teams. I always went to school. Then after school, and we had 3 to 4 best friends, always went to the outdoor rink. And I have the closest family ever to me, man. So growing up in a small town, about 4,500 people, it was awesome for me. And it was breathe, sleep, and everything hockey with me growing up, man.
And also, everyone, DJ is now just coming up on, I do believe, is it almost a year? Or you have celebrated
Just
a year?
over a year.
Just over a year sober, man. That's an amazing feat in itself, and it's no easy task at all. Doing it one day at a time. Well, we'll bust right into this question here, man. In your experience as a hockey player, how have you seen mental health issues addressed within the sport? And what steps do you believe should be taken to further support athletes in this aspect today?
Yeah, this is a very important topic, Chris, and thank you for asking me this. And it's getting better, man. It's getting a little better. I know back when I played, there wasn't even a mental health anything. It was you do it on your own, and it was that stigma of us hockey players having to be the tough guys all the time and not being able to show any weakness. And if you did have an issue, you had to deal with it on your own because it was a scare tactic with these coaches back in the day where I barely even talked to my coaches. I don't know if it was just a normal thing back in the day. And I didn't have anyone to go to. And that's why I went down that slippery slope with drugs and alcohol. Moving away at 15 wasn't the best thing for me. And it's getting better, Chris. I know there's other former hockey players that are going in these hockey leagues and sharing their stories, but it needs to happen. There's got to be more of it. And especially the right people going in, right? I know there's some hockey teams or some programs in general that are bringing people in that haven't played hockey, not necessarily. And it's really hard for these athletes to relate with these mental health guys. And hockey's a tough sport, man. It's a tough, hard sport. And when you get guys that come in that's been there and had some mental health issues and struggles going on with that past, I think this is going to help. I know this is going to help these hockey players right now because it's a big stigma of not being able to show any weakness, right? And having to be that tough guy all the time. But that's a good question, man. I know it's getting better, Chris, but it's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done because obviously there's a whole bunch of these hockey players and people struggling today. I get quite a bit of messages every day, Chris, on ex-hockey players struggling right now due to get pressures. The biggest thing is pressures, moving away at home at such a young age. It's hard. And when you get guys coming in there and talking to these kids, relating to these kids about issues like this, it's going to make these hockey players that are playing right now easier and more comfortable to speak up to a guy that has been through that. So it's getting better, but needs a lot of more work. That's for sure.
Why do you think these, coaches don't want to hear these young kids' issues? Because at the end of the day, we're playing with children's lives, young men's lives. And at the end of the day, if we're not willing to listen to their issues or listen to the problems at hand or the bullying that goes on and those types of things in this team culture and sport and stuff like that, the hockey culture in its own retrospect between the NHL all these things with the Chicago Blackhawks, with what was going on there, and all these other issues over the years arising, but no one does it. It's just they want to sweep everything under the rug.
I know. And that's just the thing, right? These coaches, they don't think it's an issue. This is what I think. I think they don't want to have that name on that team. If someone is coming out or having an issue, I don't think the coaches want to deal with it. They don't think it's serious. And all these coaches can say there's going to be an open door policy. You could come in and talk to me about whatever you want. But at the end of the day, man, from being a former athlete, there's not a chance in hell I'd go in that coach's office and tell him what was going on because I'm scared. I'm scared I'm going to get traded because I'm a distraction to the team now. Or this guy doesn't think I'm going to be my best capability for that team and help them win, and they'll just trade me. It's such a stigma, man. And I know it's getting better. And when we get these right people in these dressing rooms, and it's going to help. It's not going to be just team success. It's going to be individual success too. So it's a lot of work, man. And I know it's getting better. There's not too many old school coaches out there anymore, but it obviously needs to be better.
For sure. And I can't wait for these guys that have been through firsthand experience being able to get into these rooms or into these leagues and share their story and where they came from and whatever happened to them at the time led them down this path. There's some people that were sexually abused as young children, been around abusive parents or whatever the case may be, but they should have that open door and that open room to be able to share what's going on with them, their truths, their realities and stuff like that, instead of having to bury it and push it down with drugs and alcohol. And that's where it leads to lots of the time, I find these days, especially with these younger kids and everything too. And even the guys that are, have nowhere to go after hockey. What do they do after hockey? They're just pushed aside really, and they're just another number.
No, exactly. And you got to think about too, right? These kids, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors at their home too, right? It comes back to their parents and going to the rink. These kids, this might be their safe zone, is going to the rink and spending 2 hours with the guys and practicing. And we don't know what's going on behind the scenes at their home life. We don't know what's going on at the kitchen table, right? So everyone has a story and everyone has a background. And when guys come to the rink, yes, I'm a firm believer. These coaches need to open up. They need, yeah, still be hard on us, right? Because we wanted the best capability. But when it comes to mental health, man, that's number one. And I got the background for it too. So I think that these coaches need to be open up to these players more and to show them that's okay. Because it's gonna bring out the best in that kid. Knowing if back in the day, Chris, if I had a mental health guy or a coach sit me down and be like, Deej, I know you're dealing with depression. I know you've been dealing with anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. It's okay, man. We're going to get through this. If I had that said to me, man, I probably would still be playing hockey right now. I probably wouldn't have went down my alcohol drug path like I did. And it's scary, man, but it has to be done because there's too many of us, too many kids right now are struggling. At the end of the day, Chris, they're fucking kids, man. They're kids and we got to be better at it. And hockey's supposed to be a great sport, but as of late, you and I both know it's not going down that path.
For sure. And you got to teach them the hard truths and the hard realities at the end of the day. Coaches play a crucial role in shaping young athletes' experiences and development in hockey. In your opinion, what are some effective strategies or approaches that these coaches can employ and employ to ensure a positive and a healthy environment for their players both on and off the ice today?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the biggest thing is communication, man. That is such an important role in hockey. If you got communication with the whole team, it doesn't have to just be the captains and assistants. When their players show up in the morning and come to practice at the rink, why not say hi to every one of your teammates? Or every one of your team. Like these coaches, they like sitting in the room and just seeing them out in practice. Like, why not start a conversation with every one of the kids?
How are you doing? How is your day going? That like it goes a long way.
Exactly. Hey, how's your day going? Because this guy, he could be having the worst day of his life and you never know what's going on with him mentally in that one simple thing. Because these coaches, us players look up to these coaches, right? They're like our family. They're supposed to be like our father, right? Because when we're moving away from home, we rely on this new family, this hockey team. And when these coaches are opening up a little bit and tell the truth too, that's another big thing is telling the truth. And if a kid's having a bad game, let them know. Don't go and healthy scratch them for 2 games and don't give them a reason. That's another big thing, another topic. But yeah, there's a couple things, but the number one thing, Chris, that would help out a lot when I played is communication.
I think that's key for everything. If you're not able to communicate from the top down that sort of shows them that level of maturity that they can have, that it's okay to have a bad day, or let them know, like you said, this is why I'm sitting you today, because whether you played like shit or you didn't follow the way we wanted you to play today, I asked you to do this and you did X, Y, and Z. That's communication, and they'll understand, instead of just sitting up there, their minds wandering, and you're just fucking with their head at the end of the day. Tell him, yeah, you're just a healthy scratch. Johnny's gonna play, that hasn't played in a few games. Give him a shot, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then that can really mess with a guy's head, especially at a young age, 16, 17, 18 years old.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm the first guy to tell you that I went down it, man. I experienced that, and at such a young age, especially playing down in Everett, Washington, playing the WHL my first year, man. It was quite the eye opener. I was classified as a fifth liner, meaning I remember every morning we would go show up to the rink before practice, and our coach would hang the jerseys up, all the line colors, and there'd be a blue line, the yellow line, green line. And I remember the fifth line. So it'd be two extra jersey stories, and these are the guys who aren't going to play or healthy scratch, and they were red. I fucking hate that color now, man. That red, every time I see red, it brings it back, because I didn't know. And then I tried to say, why, what do I need to do to get better? And it was just, I didn't, no answer. You know what I mean? Hang in there. It's okay. I'm going to hang in there. I'm working my bag off. I had to fight my own hockey team, my hockey players in practice, Chris, just to prove to them that I want to get in the lineup. And me being 17 years old, living that far away, you think I was happy with that? No, and that's another scare tactic. It was doing that in Everett, and I'm the first guy to say it, man. It was scary. I couldn't deal with it, and I went down a bad path when I stopped playing, because I was playing midget AAA in Saskatchewan here, and I was one of the top end kids, and going down there was the complete opposite. And I get it. You obviously gotta work for your spot, and you gotta show off your talent. But when you don't get opportunity, or don't get an explanation of why you're not in the lineup, and you're doing absolutely everything you can, what's a kid supposed to react like? It's tough. Am I supposed to go talk to a teammate? Yes. Our teammates are supposed to be family. I get that. But at the end of the day, Chris, I'm looking at the across the room, and I want to beat that teammate out of the lineup. I want to be in the lineup. I want to be on the power play. I want to be on the penalty kill. At the end of the day, you're still fighting for that spot, and there's no chance in hell I'd go up to a guy on my team and say, man, I am so sad. You know what I mean? It's just the stigma. It's that. And yeah, it was definitely a hard time, man, going to Everett and experiencing the WHL for my first year, for sure.
Was that where you played your whole career in Everett, or did you get traded?
I shut her down after 2 years. I couldn't handle it anymore, man. I was drinking every day, and severe homesick, depression, anxiety. I was going down a bad path, and it was a mutual thing with me and the coach. I remember I had a meeting there, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And then I went home, moved back home, and played for a junior A team in the SJHL in Saskatchewan. And that was a whole nother story, man.
Yeah, those junior leagues can be quite the wild ride sometimes out there, I hear.
Well, especially when you can't get a scholarship anymore, right? I played.
Yeah, because you've wasted that away
Yeah.
going to the WHL, where you could have maybe had a scholarship or whatever. And I see it happen all the time, or some guys will do the opposite and go play in the NCAA or
Mhm.
that, and then again quit school and come to the OHL or whatever. And I know
Well,
some teams will do that.
you gotta decide that at 14 years old. Like, that's
I
a
know.
whole nother thing. For myself, I hated school, man. And it's okay, you go to WHL and just play hockey and that's it, or go try NCAA and figure out what you want to do for school and go school for 5 years. No brainer for me. I went down that WHL route. Do I now, looking back, I maybe would have considered NCAA, but yeah, man, it's just a tough age at 14 or 15 to figure that one out. Hey.
For sure. And I love that you go into addiction and stuff like that there, and drinking the alcohol and stuff. Because addiction is a prevalent issue that affects individuals in various professions, including sports. Can you share any insights or personal experience on how addiction can impact athletes in the hockey community, and what can be done to provide better resources and support for those struggling today?
Yeah, obviously with my story, Chris, right when I moved away at 15 years old, I grew up in a small town of Canarsie, Saskatchewan. We didn't have any midget AAA or anything. We only had AA hockey, and I had to make a important decision at 15 years old to move away and move into a billet house now, and now go to a completely different high school. And I had to do that, man. And I knew I was hockey ready, but mentally I wasn't. But there's no chance in hell I'd tell my parents about I didn't want to go. Hockey's an expensive sport. My mom's my best friend. My dad's my role model. They did absolutely everything for me, road trips and everything. And I didn't even second guess me telling them that I didn't want to go because I'm homesick and I knew I had to go. I knew I had to go because I was the only kid in this neck of the woods that had this opportunity to go. And I remember, man, I headed down to Saskatoon, got put in a billet house, and that we had our first rookie party, man. And I didn't really drink. I remember there'd be mental health guys coming in my high school and talking about mental health and drugs and alcohol. And I would be like, this would never happen to me. I've never touched alcohol or drugs in my life, and I'm a hockey player. This will never happen to me. And that very first rookie party, man, when I moved and played for midget AAA in Saskatoon Contacts, when I had that first drink, man, my feelings were gone. My homesick was gone. My feelings are completely frozen. I was the life of the party. I was always the guy if I was sober, I was worried about what other people would think of me. I was always nervous about that. Even walking into classrooms, I'd be like, I don't want to do this because I'm scared what people are going to think of me. But ever since I started drinking, man, all that went away. And I was the loudest guy. I was the most obnoxious guy because I wanted to be friends with everyone because I wanted to make everyone else be happy when I wasn't taking care of myself, right? So ever since that first rookie party, man, it went down to every day. I ended up being a severe alcoholic at 15 years old, every single day by myself. My parents had no sniff what was going on. I was painted a picture on my face basically my whole career up until I was 20, 21 years old. And I finally had the courage, when I finally 21, where I wrecked my hockey career and then I quit everything and came home. But it's an easy escape route. The hockey culture, Chris, it's okay to drink. You go out with your teammates. If you're a rookie, you want to get along with the 20-year-olds. You want to get along with the vets. And what do? You go out and drink. And nowadays, man, if it seems like if there's a party and there's a couple guys in your team that don't drink, like they're the weird ones. You know what I mean? If the guy on your team doesn't drink, they're the weird ones. But now looking back, they're obviously the right guys that did it. But man, it was scary. Just everything that happened to me, but being homesick to the pressures. And I was still a top scorer of that hockey team my first year too. And I don't know how I did it. I remember after a game, I had 3 goals and we ended up losing that game like 7-3. And I remember a coach came in the dressing room and lost it on us. And he's like, you're going to be back here at 5:30 in the morning, get your skates on. And we're going to get bag skating. And I'll never forget, there was me and another buddy and we ended up staying at the rink in the parking lot, grabbed 24 beers each, stayed up all night. That's the mind space I was at, man. Like, everything. And ever since I started drinking and smoking weed, I got into weed hard. And then I started smoking cigarettes, chewing, like everything that I could get my hands on. It was go time for me. And it was nuts.
I know the exact feeling as an addict myself. Anything and everything, anything that I can get my hands on, whether it was porn, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, I still smoke to this day, but just any form of addiction, whether it was podcasting when I started my podcast, it was every day, 24/7 almost. I go manic, hypomanic, and I just go into it and I'm right in the zone at some points. And it's wild though, the way the addict brain works. It's just insane. It could go on for days of the insanity that the drugs and alcohol led me. And lots of these places were not fun times, ending up in crack houses, trap houses, pulled over by the police by I don't even know how the hell they didn't know some nights. Or maybe they did know and they're just like, just get out of my face. I don't know. People tell me I have a horseshoe up my ass and I guess I did. Like I should have, been going away for some of the dumb shit I did. By the grace of God or the grace of someone up there's some higher power that has me where I am today to be able to share my story just like yourself. Kudos to you for being open and vulnerable especially at this stage in your life and spent your probably in your early 30s or late 20s.
31.
Exactly. When you still got lots of life in you, and it's not worth it to booze and drugs are just not worth it, man. It's not healthy for the mind. Any mind and mood altering substance. I thought it was okay just to smoke weed after I quit doing everything. No, it wasn't, man. I'd convinced myself and my wife at the time. I was just like, it's okay because they legalized it. That was my justification. No, it wasn't okay because when I would run out, it would be just like a full blown addiction. Like I just run out of crack or coke or whatever. At the end of the day, and just gone completely nuts. And it's the sad world, the sad reality of things as an addict that I just can't have anything. And even cigarettes included. I'm working on quitting those now. One thing at a time, but it's a drug too, you know what I mean? It's a nasty addiction as well.
I know it's crazy, man. Especially where, like, when I got in my cocaine, obviously we'll talk about that. But I mean, it was like, when I was doing it, and then you're up all night, and then you're feeling like shit, and you're like, I'm never going to do this again. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden you start
I
feeling a
said
little
that
bit better.
thousands of times.
Oh, you say then you feel a little bit better and you're ready to rock and roll again. Then it's just a repetitive thing. And the next thing you know, you're into it for 10 years and you pissed everything away, man. And it's scary and how easy it can happen. Hey, and everything else in the world, all the outside world, that could be your closest family members, could be your brother, could be your sister, could be your best friend. They come second now. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I need my drugs. I need my drug fix right now. And it's nuts how easy it could
It
get.
didn't matter what I had to do, what, it took to get it. Nothing stood in my way. Did not care. If I had to have it, I had to have it. And then the lying, the deceitfulness, the cheating, the stealing, the list goes on, man. I said I'd never do any of those things. I lost jobs due to stealing copious amounts of money from a job. I'm luckily I didn't get arrested then. They just, Chris, it's no questions asked. Just leave, hand your stuff in, you're done. And I was surprised, but like I was like, this is what's going on, man. I was honest with them, but I still kept going after that, and it was just a repetitive thing, one after another.
Mhm.
Whether convincing the doctors or the dentist, I had a toothache, I had a rotting tooth due to drug use, bottom of my back molars. I'm not getting 4 root canals, but I'd convinced 2 different dentists to give me oxys at that time. Whatever I could get my hands on, and I was a very just manipulation at the end of the day. And I remember this to a T though, and I will like sorry, not my wife's, my daughter's mother's lawyer in courts, like, this guy's just drug shopping. And I was just denying it. But thinking back, I was like, you know what? You're probably right. I was just going doctor shopping at the end of the day. It was when one dentist, oh, fuck, this guy couldn't get me in. So I went to another dentist that got me into emergency surgery and convinced him to give me some. And
No.
it's the insanity, man. The definition of insanity right there.
It's nuts, man, and how crazy and where it could take you. I used to be always the hockey player, man, and now I'm exactly right. Ended up at like dealers' houses and hanging out with them and hanging out with people that you never would have thought that you would ever hang out with. But you're right. It's the path it takes you and the mind, right? You want your fix and you're going to get it. What's ever in my way, I'm going to put you aside and I'm going to get my fix. You're 100% right on that one.
It took me losing access to my kids and those types of things, but it took a lot of work to get to where I am today, and it's still a lot of work ahead of me, but it never ends. I it's just a never ending thing. It's not like you just quit and then it's done. No, you gotta put the work in, everyone, as well. It
Mhm.
doesn't just stop there, you know? You have to treat people with respect, and you gotta earn that respect back. You gotta earn that trust back from the people that support you and love you, like your parents, your family, where I had lost that trust and I had to earn it back. I wasn't allowed at my parents' house when they weren't there for a while. My brother didn't really want me around. My one brother didn't even want to talk to me really because of my actions and what I had done to him. And even when you can tell he still has his guard up, and that's okay. He's allowed to have that. I put him through shit that I shouldn't have put any family member through too.
I could relate on that big time, man. Obviously, yeah, I got 2 little nephews. I got 2 older brothers. My oldest brother have 2 kids, and I was supposed to be the guy helping them out with hockey and golf and baseball. But Uncle Deej, we was never around, and I'm still working on my relationships with my brothers. Like my oldest brother did everything for me growing up, man. He was my trainer, helping me get in shape. He didn't miss one hockey game of mine, man. And now I just what I did to him, and obviously lying and then doing all this stuff to him, and I'm still working on that relationship today and it eats me alive. But at the end of the day, I know it's my fault and like my best friend in the world too. Like he moved to the States, but it's just, I didn't go to his wedding last year. Like it's just little shit like that fucking irritates me, man. But I know it happened to me and I got a long route to earning these guys' trust and then relationship back. But everything happens for a reason, man. And you're right. It's tough. This sober journey, man. It's quite the thing. And it's an everyday thing. That's what everyone says, one day at a time. Cause when people used to tell me one day at a time, I'm like, what does that even mean at the start of my journey of my sobriety? But I live by that now, man, because it is an everyday thing, right? When you wake up to right when you go to bed, it's a grind.
It's a battle. Sometimes our mind can want to play fucking tricks on us or
Yep.
fuck with us. At the end of the day, it's called discipline. You have to have that discipline. So you have to set those boundaries. Like I was talking in an earlier episode about boundaries and stuff, but say no. It's okay to say no.
Mhm.
Cut those people out of your life that don't belong in it anymore. That toxic energy, that toxic personalities and stuff in your life. You don't need that in your life. If those are the types of people you have in your life, maybe you should reconsider what you're doing or who you're hanging out with too,
Mhm.
because they're just going to drag you down. They're not there to help you out. They're there to drag you down at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's tough too. Like it's a lonely route too when you're on your journey, man, right up the start because you gotta leave some relationships behind because you thought they were your buddies at the start, but and then you go and think and you look back, all you guys had in common was if there's drugs around while you guys were hanging out. Like there was never just a normal hangout sesh. There's always had to be alcohol and drugs in the way. And yeah, you have to, in order for you to get better and move forward, I found real quick that you gotta leave those relationships behind and you got to find the right ones because the people you hang out with is going to be a factor in your life for sure. So yeah, it's at the very start, it was scary for me, man. I used to hang around with my buddies every day and now I'm still working on it. Right. It's quite the lonely journey right now, but obviously I got the right people in my life and then it's obviously helping me out. So yeah.
I know, and I always say too, if they can't respect you or give you the respect because you quit drinking or whatever, and don't push that on you, then they're not the people that should be in your life either at the end of the day. I still hang out with people that drink, but they also respect that I don't drink.
Mhm.
And they would always make sure that I don't drink either. And I respect that. They have my back. They make sure I'm comfortable. When I hang out with people that smoke weed around me, and I'm okay with that. And I'm not saying it's for everyone either. Some people might think that's taboo, but at the end of the day, I have my boundaries. I know my limits and stuff like that. And if I'm not comfortable, I have that choice to leave or take myself out of that situation too.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I enjoy having a non-alcoholic beer, especially on a hot summer day. And I'm, there's so many awesome choices out there today that I feel that I can partake in. And I'm grateful for that. I make sure my buddy or the people that I'm with, if we're out for a dinner or out having a good night, I still like going out and dancing and stuff. I love it still, but I do it sober. They have so many great non-alcoholic choices. And like I said, that lifestyle might not be for everyone, but I make sure my friends get home safely. I'm not the guy driving drunk home anymore either. I wake up without the hangover today, and I love it.
Well,
I can get up at 6:30 in the morning. I might be a little groggy-eyed, tired, but a quick shower and a coffee, and I'm good to go for the day most of the time. And I have a much more energy than I used to. I'd just be sluggish all day, all hung over all the time, and or hadn't been to bed yet. I was just a complete train wreck.
it's nuts, hey? Isn't it such a good feeling waking up, no more hangover anxiety? And you're right, man. I don't even go to bars anymore. It does not interest me at all. And it's around where I live, man. It's a redneck. It's such a small town. It's oil and gas, and it's a competitive town, man. And I'm the only guy in this neck of the woods that is doing this, right? So it was quite the challenge. And when I first told everyone what was going on and what was with me and what I'm doing now, there was a lot of people that were, man, here I am today. And at the end of the day, I'm doing it for myself over a year sober. And I finally have people in my hometown that understand now and asking me for tips and all that. So you got to make an important step when you want to get sober. You got to make a change, man. You have to, because yes, not waking up or not sleeping for days, trying to get up, trying to go to do a job, man, trying to go out in this society. I used to sell vehicles like what you do now, Chris. And I remember I would not sleep for days and going to work, a small town, everyone knew me, and me trying to paint a picture on my face and try, how it is dealing with customers every day and trying to be on top of your game all the time, knowing all the knowledge and everything. Like, I don't know how I did it, but I was still selling vehicles. But man, just looking back and I'm just like, fuck, DJ. And I was a hockey player too, right? I was supposed to be this role model, but here I am doing cocaine and drinking every single night now and showing up to work, not myself, especially in a small town. So it was quite, I don't know how I did it, Chris. I don't.
And you had a good point there, but you have to do it for you, you only.
Exactly.
You're not doing it for your parents. You're not doing it for your
Yeah.
brother. You're not doing it for your nephews. If you're not doing it for you, you're not doing it for the right people at all.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it has to be you that wants it. And for people listening out there, maybe have a loved one struggling with addiction, you cannot force them to do it. They have to do it on their own. You can offer suggestions or offer resources and stuff, but at the end of the day, they cannot be forced. You're just going to push them away more, I find. And I'm speaking from the other side because I've been there with my parents pushing me and those types of things. I had to want to do that on my own. I had to hit my rock bottom on my own, whatever the case is, in order to get to where I am and have that wake up call that it's time to shit or get off the pot, Chris, because it was just ruining my life at then 25 plus years of it.
I think that's important what you said there too, because I could relate and I agree with you 110% on what you got to say to these people that are dealing with and struggling, because every time my parents accused me or told me to go get help, I would come unglued, man. Every single time cause a fight until finally I surrendered myself and I went over there and told them what was going on. Because you're right, I had to surrender and I had to know. I knew I had a problem the whole time. I knew I needed to quit, but no one tell me what to do. You know what I mean? I didn't have any feelings. You tell me I need to quit doing drugs, I'll do more drugs just by you saying that. And you're right. It has to be you that has to quit, and you gotta take that first step and do something about it.
You have to admit you have the problem.
Yeah.
That's the first step, admitting you have the problem at the end of the day. And then things start falling into place. That first few months, that first few days might be grueling, the withdrawals and stuff like that. But stay at it, people. Keep at it. It is worth it at the end of the day. It might be months of withdrawals. It all just depends. It might be a year. Who knows? But stick at it. Stick around the right people. Get supports. Reach out to people. Get phone numbers of other sober people, whatever the case may be. Get away from those people that you were hanging out with, because they're just acquaintances at the end of the day. They weren't there to support me. I'm sure your acquaintances weren't there to support you. And hey, how's it going, DJ? How's life going? Once they figured out you weren't doing the shit anymore.
Yeah. It's quite the eye opener, man. Yeah, it's tough. And I obviously want to be friends with these guys, but obviously we can, because they're doing something and I choose not to. And I wish nothing but the best for them. And if they come to me and ask for help, I'll be the first guy there. But they understand now. I know they do. They understand that I can't be with them because I'm doing something. And if I hang out with them and go back to my old self, man, I'd be done for. I just got to pick my right spots, man. I got to pick my right buddies, my right people I hang out with now. My ritual, my routine is so very huge for me, man. Every morning, I still deal with depression, anxiety every single day. When I wake up, I'm hurting. And now with my routine, and I know how to deal with my negative thoughts and who I call. And yeah, man, it's a crazy world out there, but you got to do it one day at a time. And when I did speak up for the first time, Chris, it was a game changer, man. How many people out there that I could relate with, and the sober community like yourself. And I'm not alone. I thought I was alone for 10 fucking years when I was on my addictions. I didn't think anyone was going through it. And if I told one person, I thought no one would understand. But fuck, was I wrong, man. I was wrong.
We're all in the same boat.
That's
You might have
crazy,
a
man.
different way or avenue of getting there. You may took a different fork in the road, but
Yeah,
we're all the same at the end of the day.
exactly.
But we also got to support the loved ones that we've put through the bullshit, though, too. At the end of the day, we got to give a pat on the back to those people as well. You can't forget where you did come from, because mom and dad really did help you growing up. Same with my parents. And kudos to all the people that we've put the shit through, because they deserve a huge pat on the back, if not a bigger pat on the back than we do. I still give myself a pat on the back, but we got to give those other people that we put shit through a big pat on the back for putting up with our shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, my mom and dad are my lifesaver. Those two are the ones that saved my life, and they are my backbone, man. So yeah, I don't know. There's not going to be a day where I could give back to them or equal it out. You know what I mean? It's hard. I'm trying to forget what I'm saying, but I can't do anything to like make up for that. Does that make sense?
No,
Like
most
there's
definitely. You can never do what you can always do, put one foot in front of another, one foot in front of another, and do the next best right thing too. And always try to be 1% better than you were the day before. Just doing one more, it adds up and stack up those 1% mores. And it's it's 365% better a year.
Mhm.
It's amazing to see what you can do when you try each day and put your best foot forward each day. Some days are shittier than others, but just keep the grind on. Whether it's going to the gym. Does anyone ever want to go to the gym? No, but it's good for your mental health. Those types of things. Or does anyone ever want to go? I know there's one guy that I follow. He calls it soldier and sandbag. Do you think I fucking want to run a 5K every day? He says, no. He says, even in this humidity, but I fucking do it because it's good for if I want to be toned, if I want to be in shape. But do you think I want to go do leg day 3 days a week? No, but I do it. You got to push yourself to those limits. It's I love it. He always says it's either you're going to be a soldier or a sandbag. Which one are you today? Do you think I want when he has lots of people looking up to him though? But it's just nice to see just give everyone giving their little push and stuff on social media or wherever it is, man. Keep pushing one another.
Mhm.
Create that positive culture, toxic positivity, but that positive culture around one another. And it's all about uplifting one another, doing those random acts of kindness, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, don't do it because you're looking for something in return, then you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Mhm.
Do it because you want to do it, because it makes you feel good, because you're making someone else feel good at the end of the day.
No, exactly, and that's why, like, when I like to do those outdoor skates for the kids and doing the 3-on-3 tournament for the kids or whatever, it's exactly because I wish when I was in their shoes, I had guys like that doing that for me, right? I wish I had an older role model that would do that for me, and I understand. I'm thankful I had to go through that, Chris, everything I've been through, because now I grew up and now I understand what it means for these kids, for guys like me and you that's been there, that done that, and they could trust. And we have backup with their stories and we could help out these kids. It makes me feel good, man, because I know that these kids come to the outdoor rink or whatever I organize, we never know what's going on in their home lives. And it makes me feel good inside that 1 hour. I get to do my part and make it so it's fun and they don't got to worry about any problems and be a kid for that hour. So I love it, man. It makes me feel good. And that's my time to get back. And that's what I've been doing. So,
That's amazing to see, man. Giving back what was so freely given to you is it's what it's all about. Building those relationships, those friendships that you're going to make these memories for these kids last forever. They're going to look back and be like, and those are the memories they're going to remember. Those are the little things that they're going to remember. A little thing can go such a long ways, especially in a young child's life, whether it be a girl or a boy. It's going to go a long ways for them. And transitioning for you from a hockey player and a hockey career to life after hockey can be challenging for many athletes. Could you share any personal advice you have for players who are facing this transition, and what are some important aspects to consider when planning for life after the game?
yeah, that's really big too. Right when I got done my playing career, that's when my cocaine hit every day. That was my thing. I took the wrong curve. My hockey ended early, I had a bad knee injury, and obviously what I was doing with myself, and I didn't take anything from school. And I was petrified, man. I remember I came back home and not knowing what I was going to do. I was scared of the real world. I should still be playing hockey, but I'm done. And I didn't do anything. And for these players, they got to really think about life. Sad to say, but what's the percentage of kids make it to the NHL? It's really slim, man.
Slim to
And
none and slim left town. There's only
exactly.
30
So,
teams or 32 teams, and let's say 20 guys, only 18 dress a night or whatever. And
yeah. And that boils down to the parents. You know what I mean? These are the parents that are feeding these kids these information that, hey man, you go to the NHL, do what you gotta do. But from going from a young kid and getting to that NHL and how much things are gonna happen in between those two times, man, you gotta worry about like after hockey. It's hard, man. I'm the first guy to say it. You gotta talk. You gotta talk to your parents. You gotta talk to your teachers. You gotta talk to anyone that is important in your life because it is scary. And if you guys don't have an after hockey plan, it could get scary. And if you have an opportunity, you guys, if you have an opportunity to have a scholarship or play good hockey and you get free schooling like I did, take fucking advantage of it. Yeah, I had 5 free years of school, Chris, and I pissed it all away, man. And all because of me not knowing what to do in my drugs and my alcohol past. And these kids need to learn that chances you make the NHL is slim to none. Yeah, you could go to Europe. Yeah, you could do all that. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a time in your career where it's going to be all done. And there's got to be a backup plan. Why not take a class? If you're playing the dub, why not take a class? Why not take school? Why not do something on the side? Because there's going to be a time when hockey's going to be done. Just make sure you guys are ready and just make sure that it's okay. It's okay to not make it to the NHL. It's okay to have an afterlife, but just be prepared and always have a backup plan.
because hockey doesn't go forever, you know what I
No.
mean? And you make sure you're also, if you do make it that far, I was never money smart growing up. Make sure you're smart with your money and not
Mhm.
blowing it on silly things like you see some of these guys doing. These young guys get these big multi-million-dollar contracts, and they're just, some of them are, why do you have to live lavishly? There's no need for it. And then here, 5 years down the road, they're bankrupt.
Mhm.
Be
True
smart
that.
with your money. It's material. All that is material things. You can get those anytime. Something you can't get back is that quality time with your family or your loved ones at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Make sure you cherish those relationships that you have with the ones that are close to you and that support and love you. You know, push those are the ones that usually we as addicts push away first because they're the ones that are closest to us. We project our bullshit onto them.
Mhm.
So I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk a little bit more about hockey culture and what it's all about and what it did for you, what it did to your mental health, and how it led you down to the path of addictions and stuff like that, because you didn't have those people to talk to growing up or felt safe enough to talk to others. If there's any other coaches listening to this episode or anyone else listening, make sure it's so your kids or the people that you're in trust of feel safe to talk to you, because anyone should be able to come together and come forward with their problems or what's going on in their mind, because you never know who you can help if you just open up and let them listen to them. That's what they're wanting you to do, is listen, and maybe you'll have those resources. So I hopefully those things are coming soon, or coming sooner than later, to the CHL, the WHL, the Q, the OHL, all those different leagues around Canada and North America for that too. It needs to happen sooner than later.
100%, man. 100%.
So where can everyone find you? You just released a new podcast as well. Where can they find that and find you on social media, DJ, to give you a follow if they ever want to reach out, and if they have something that's on their mind they want to get off, where can they help find you?
Yeah, for sure. My TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook is DJ McGrath Hockey. So DJY McGrath Hockey. And I just released my first episode with Tanner Mortensen on Let's Go Sober podcast. So it's on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, you name it. So I just started doing that. And yeah, if you guys that's what I do for a living. If you guys want to ask me anything hockey related or drugs and alcohol, I'm an open book. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out and I'll be happy to get back to you.
Thank you again for coming on the show today, DJ. It was an honor. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for the great chat, man, and opening up some more eyes to what's
Yeah.
going on out there.
Awesome, Chris. And thank you for doing what you do, man. I really respect you and thank you for bringing me on.
You're very welcome, man. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
You too, man.